welcome to the third Star Sports English Greyhound Derby kennel visit. Today I'm in Wickford talking to Dave Mullins about his very exciting and well-rounded Derby team, including superstar March On Freddie. Now joined by Dave Mullins of the Brookside Kennels. Dave, touching on the Derby, how excited are you for it? Just said you did have a finalist a good few years ago now, but a really nice team this year, so are you looking forward to it?
I'm really, obviously in the back of your mind you think about it, but there's still a few weeks to go before it starts, and there's a little race coming up on Sunday with one or two nice dogs in it. So once we get past that, as long as everything's okay, then I'll start getting a little bit excited, or hopefully get excited.
Of course, you've had so many good dogs in the kennel. Just to name a couple, in the last couple of years, the likes of Tempin and Arcady. You have one very, very special dog in the kennel, but without going too much into it, how does the team this year shape up to years in the past?
Well, he's very similar to Tempin and Arcady. Arcady a little bit more early, and he was probably suited to Toaster. I'm yet to know whether Freddy will be suited to Toaster as Tempin wasn't. He just couldn't handle the track at all. Had it been on a big gallop, we would have been laughing. And funny enough, he managed to get all his draws all the time. So yeah, we are looking forward to it. We've learned a lot in recent weeks about him. There's certain things we like and one or two things we're not sure about.
And before we touch more on March On Freddie, how much would it mean to you to win the Derby?
Oh, it'd be the same for everyone. It's the pinnacle of your career. You know, you don't get. We've been lucky enough to have a few good dogs recently, that good enough to go in it. Whether it works out for you or not is neither here nor there. But to win it, yeah, it'd be. I can still remember when my mum and dad won it in '78. So yeah, it would be great.
And have another Mullins name on the trophy.
Yeah, it's only been on once. It's surprisingly, if you think the career my mother had, my dad had, John, and myself, it's surprising, that we've only been on once. But hopefully one of us will get on there at some point. Right,
touching on March On Freddie, the main star of the kennel at the minute, I think it's fair to say. It had a few runs in Ireland, I think 28-30 around there at Clonmel, and a couple of defeats at Limerick. But when he came in the kennel, were you really excited about him? Did you know how good he was going to be, or has it come as a bit of a surprise?
I always base them on any dog that comes in, whatever they do first time. That will give me a good idea how good the dog will be, regardless of what the second trial or third trial is. But the first trial is really important. And on his first trial, I knew he was going to be a good dog. I don't take too much notice of what they do to start with, because we gradually build them up and just see how they develop. We knew he'd be a good dog. We wasn't sure he'd be as good as this, but it's like most top end dogs. You don't really know they're going to be that good until they start doing it.
Was it around Nottingham that you sort of realised, because obviously he won the Puppy Classic, broke the track record in the semi-finals, was absolutely flying, so then you realised how good he really was?
I knew it wasn't, obviously I knew how good he was then. There was a few runs before that. I took him to Hove and he did a good trial, and then he won I think it was his maiden, in a scintillating fashion. I think he won 10 or 12 runs, whatever it was, broke 29 dead. So you know he's a good dog. We were still learning about the dog at the time, and I sent him back. We had him seeded middle for his first couple of races, and I looked in his next race. I still seeded him middle. He got drawn track 5 where he won, and he got drawn. I can't remember if he got drawn 3 or 4, but I knew it was a mistake, and it turned out to be he found a lot of trouble, and so that's when we learned, the right way. He's got to be seated wide. And that's how we come to that. But that's when I really knew he was good.
After Nottingham, you went to Ireland for a crack at the Irish Derby, made it all the way to the semi-finals, which is just great in itself, but how was that experience?
It was tough. it was frustrating at times, and it was intense, very, very intense. The spotlight was on us, not just in Ireland, but from both sides of the water. And you could feel it, you know, when you walked into the track, everyone's watching, seeing you. I mean, it was a great experience, and I would recommend it anyone to have a go at the Irish Derby. Don't be afraid to take them on. You know, they've obviously got good trainers and top class dogs, but I wouldn't be afraid to go over there, give it a go. You know, it's a tough thing to do, but yeah, no. At the time during it, did we enjoy it? Probably not. But when you reflect on it afterwards, yeah, you did enjoy it. I would highly recommend doing it.
It's a brave move as well, because like you say, you're taking on the top Irish dogs. Did you have the English Derby in the back of your mind? Were you trying to sort of maybe mature them a bit and get them that experience with those sort of dogs?
I just felt at the time, I wanted to go originally. I had a meeting with the owner, George Watson, and at the time he was trialling for the Kent Derby, and he was dipping in his trials. He was dipping under the clock in both trials he had, and then I think Ian Fortune spoke to George and more or less persuaded him, you know, this is the thing to do. So we, you know, because we had options: the Kent Derby, the Eclipse, and the Olympic. You know, 3 big races back to back, which would suit him. Not to say he was going to win them. But we did have options, and we thought, no, you don't get too many opportunities to do the Irish Derby. Let's give it a go. So yeah, that's how that came about.
And he had a little bit of time off after that, but he's come back this year in really, really good form. He's got 2 defeats so far, King Memphis and Proper Heiress, but 2 very good dogs in themselves. So are you pleased with how he's come back to racing?
Yeah, it took. I mean, we had him off mainly because he picked an injury up in Ireland. It wasn't so much. It was a niggle, and it reflected in his performance. He picked it up in the 3rd round when he just didn't quite get round, and we thought we'd be able to cope with it, be able to get it right. But at that level, you realise how tough it is. So we left him off for over the winter period, or the early part of the winter, and come back. And it took a couple of runs for him to get going, even though he was doing good runs. But yeah, no, I'm pleased with the way he's come back.
And now all roads lead to Toaster. Unfortunately, at the time of the recording, we don't know the result of the juvenile final, but he's had a few trials around there and flown round. So are you happy with how he's taken to Toaster? Yeah,
I mean, I was never in any doubt that he would do good runs around there. What he's got to do it in against 6 dogs. I mean, for me, this is the area we're not sure about, because in my mind he relishes a long run to the corner. Toaster hasn't got a long run to the corner, so he's got to be on his toes, you know, at the start and negotiate his way around. But we learned a lot in the plate about him, of his capabilities. So I think, given a clear run, he'll be tough to keep out the first 3.
Like you say, at Central Park, he was running on really strong. So did that help you in your mind that if he does get behind at Toaster, you're still in with a chance of him?
Yeah, I always measure dogs, competition dogs. When you get beat, where do you finish? And if you finish in the top 3, to me, you're a good competition dog, because you're not going to win every race unless your pot goes diamond, of course. But so, especially in the final, because it was a red hot final, and he got a lot of trouble at the first bend, but still managed to get up to be 2nd, and a comfortable 2nd against a field like that. So yeah, you sort of think, you know, you're always going to be able to give yourself a chance of qualifying. There's only one thing that the track where we can negotiate Toaster in race conditions worries me slightly, but we'll find out about that in the juvenile. And the draw, that's the only factor that really does worry me, because I think drawn 5 or 6 I'm comfortable with. Drawn 3 or 4, I'd be concerned.
Like we touched on earlier, you've had some really, really good 4-bend dogs in the kennel. But is March On Freddie maybe the one that you've been most excited about for the Derby?
If it was at Nottingham, yeah. I try not to think too much about it. I'm pretty grounded when, inside you beat yourself up, but I'm pretty grounded. I like the dogs to do the talking. Like I say, with my concerns about the track, his style of running, whether the track will suit him, it's hard to get too excited. If he was a flash bang out dog, then I would be. But I think I went into the Derby with 10 pin. I was really excited, and then realised it wasn't hard to work out. It just wasn't the track that suited his style. So yeah, we've had some dogs that have excited us, but I suppose he's got to be one of the best dogs I've ever trained.
So the next dog in the team is Brindle Billy, and he's another very well-bred sort, litter mate to March On Freddie and Bocco's Diamond, but he's a really, really nice early pace type dog.
Yeah, whether if it was on a big track, like Hove, Central Park or Nottingham, he wouldn't be going for it. But I think Toasty front runners can get away with the distance. If you look at dogs like Sandra, Goofy, it sort of suited him. So I think Brindle Billy could get that trip in front, and it may suit. He might be okay for it. He's only got one Achilles heel. He's not the greatest trapper. He messes around in the boxes a bit, but he's got terrific early. And if we can get him back to the form he was in before he picked up that nickel, hopefully he could go quite a way.
When he was in form and he won the Silver Standard, I think back in October, he was doing 23.60s round Romford, so he's very, very fast. Yeah,
he initially I found with them they mess around too much in the boxes, and we've got a trap here, and I stuck him in the box for 20 minutes each day, just left him in there, and it sort of calmed him down in the boxes and away he went. So he'll have a couple more races at Romford, hopefully a couple more races at Romford, and then I'll probably stick him in either in a trial stake or running on the Sunday before the Derby starts, so 500 just to blow his lungs open.
Mm-hmm. And touching on his owners, I think I interviewed them at Romford, and he is their first dog, not a bad first dog to own.
Most of them, there are a lot of youngsters in it. I mainly deal with Russell, and he's had dogs before, but yeah, they're very enthusiastic.
They'll be bringing a good atmosphere to Toaster.
So sometimes you have to calm them down a little bit, but they're good. It is good for the sport.
So the final dog in the team is Santa's Amigo, and he's a bit different to the others. He's not as well known, only had a few races, but in those few races looked really promising. He won his first 2 races, round 1 more. A lot of bad luck in the first round of the Puppy Derby, but looks a promising type.
Yeah, I think the future's going to be bright for him. I really like this pup. He's not 100% certain to go in the Derby, but we have got it a little bit on the agenda. I haven't told the owners yet, but if he progresses in these next 2 races, then we might give it a go, or we possibly take a side step and just keep him to the puppy events. But I think long term he will be a really, really good dog. Well, he is a good dog.
Yeah, he's only a September 23 as well, and I watched his first race at Monmore, and I thought in that he showed a real sort of mature battling quality. Was that something you saw?
Yeah, I think I actually schooled. Well, he had initially only had, when he came over, he'd only had a hand slip and a sprint on the schooling track. So we finished off his schooling at Central Park, and his first trial, I think he did 16:30 or 16:20, just under 16, which is a top open race time anyway. And I thought, cross, this is some animal. So I wasn't sure what I was being told. I don't know, I thought he can't be this good. And he just developed into it. Like everything he's done right. you know, and when he got knocked out and more, I don't think it was his fault, you know, dogs got tangled up and he just, things didn't go his way, but everything else he's done right. He's a lovely dog, with pace to boot on. Needs to work on his trapping a bit, but definitely pace all round.
He's had about a month off, I think, had a try at Romford and did 23.76 after a month off, so quick time.
Yeah, and then I took him to Hove on Sunday and he ran well. Hit a brick wall after 480, but I expected him to, and the going was a little bit testing anyway, so hopefully he's running in the puppy competition there is Saturday night. Hopefully the track will be suited and he should strip fitter for it. We'll see where we're going with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, how he runs at Hove sort of, and how he stays the 500 metres depend on if he goes in the Derby or not.
He will do, yeah. The overall event, you know, I mean, I think he will get the trip, especially when he's race fit. You know, probably takes him half a dozen races to get race fit, but it'll give us a conundrum, you know, what to do. I wouldn't normally put a pup in, but I don't think Toaster's that demanding. I know the trip from the winning line to the pickup concerns a lot of people, but I don't find it too much of a problem.
And like I say, he's only September 23, got some very promising runs for his age. How good do you think he could be in the future? He could be one for next year even.
I think he could be one of the best dogs we've had, you know, from the start he's had. There's no reason he hasn't had a sequence of, you know, hard work and a lot of races. So I think once he gets a good few races under his belt and matures a bit more, I don't see any reason why he can't be one of the best dogs we've had.
Well, thank you very much. I think the team this year is looking very well rounded. You've got Brindle Billy with the early pace, a young exciting pup, and then Freddy who's just got all round pace, so it's a nice well rounded team. Yeah,
you know, I've actually got quite a nice few dogs in the kennels now. We've had an influx of youngsters come in. There's a new owner come in, well, he was with my mother years ago. He had some great dogs then, but he's got the Zenith prefix, and some of them youngsters look really good. There's one lined up against Sandra Amigo on Saturday, which has only had one race, but I think it was only about half a length slower than Sandra Amigo and on the clock, so we're excited about him. He might be our puppy cup dog.
Perfect, thank you very much. Best of luck in the Derby and thank you for having me today.
No problem.